Deborah. I saw your head bobbleheading.
That's right.
Larry knows I create these intros for bobbleheads because about every one of my intros,
everybody's going.
Well, good day, everybody. I'm here with Larry Segari, and he's brought his wife with him today. And I've been wanting her to come on for a long time. She's she's done this a few times, with other shows and interviews and things like that. And so she can relate to what we're doing. And so welcome to the show, everybody, and welcome to what we've got to bring you today. We were just talking before we came on about how things have changed with words and that, people can't find a new word for new things that keep happening, and they just use a word that pops in their head that's similar to that word, and then that word gets used on social media. The next thing you know, everybody's using it, and also using the word viral as being what it is, and it's just not true, but it does kind of apply. It's funny though, we hear things so many times, even though they're not the original definition of these words. We hear it so many times, we get used to it and just start using the word ourselves. I do all the time without even thinking about it. And so here we are doing this because we like it. John Craig usually hosts the Let Us Reason Together Monday edition. And he is on hiatus right now and several things that he's doing. And so I'm kind of taking his place. And I want him to come back because he does a great show. And so hope he'll be back soon, but in the meantime, we'll have fun doing it ourselves.
You're stuck with us.
What's that?
You're stuck with us in the meantime.
Stuck with you guys. That's fine. Now let's talk about that word stuck. Now, because is that used in the right sense? Because I don't feel like I'm stuck with you, but it's so. You
got no alternatives.
I got no alternatives. There you go. Well, I do because we've had several other people.
Yeah, there's alternatives out there, but they're not responding.
Well, that's right. That's right. So, and everybody's busy, and they're producers of other shows and other people, and I think the biggest issue is it's Monday morning, and if you have a job. Not like us old people. We don't have jobs.
I resemble that remark.
It's kind of hard to get people to, call into their job and say, well, I can't come in this morning. I'm going to be on this show. And
and then you'll get the line, I hope they're paying you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Exactly.
Good luck.
That's right. Very good. Very good. Well, the show is Let Us Reason Together. It's based on Isaiah 1:18, which says, come now and let us reason together, says the Lord. Though your sins are as scarlet, they will be as white as snow. Though they are red like crimson, they will be like wool. I had somebody tell me a couple of weeks ago that they thought it's odd that I have to read that when now I'm doing 2 Let Us Reason Together shows every week, and I read that at the beginning of both shows. By now, I should have that verse memorized, but I have to keep reading. It says, I had that memorized years ago, and I don't read it twice a week, so it's like, well, it's up there on the screen.
Might as well use it. So you don't end up going You know the deal.
Yeah, you know.
Four score and seven. You know the deal.
Or though your sins are as white as snow, they will be red like scarlet. And
If you don't join the show.
well, I get yeah, I get things mixed up all the time. It's better that it's right there in front of
It's
my
right
face.
there. No mistake.
That's right. That's right. Well, so how's life, guys? Everything going good, bad, ugly?
I took my second shower today already.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. The
I went
humidity.
outside
Yeah.
to water the plants and come in, and Deb says, "I'm
Uh-huh.
not sitting next to you if you're like that." So I had to take
Oh,
another
revealing,
shower.
are we? Okay. Gauntlet has been thrown down. Okay.
Yeah, but it has been real nice for
It has
quite
been.
a few days. As a matter of fact, I opened the front door and most times this morning I already got the air conditioner on. So
Yeah.
I'm with you.
It's very humid out.
Yeah, it is. And of course, with all the hurricane and everything, the three of us are on the East Coast, and we have a lot of them big high winds circling by every once in a while, and it causes the weather to change.
They're called hurricanes.
It's called hurricanes. That's right.
Yeah.
Let's call it for what it is.
A hurricane. How they say it around here?
Hurricane.
Hurricane.
Yeah. Well, I used to live in Kansas, and when tornadoes showed up, you had about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Before you knew that tornado was going to be in your path. Whereas out here, it's like you got 5 days.
Yeah.
It may come close, it may hit you directly. Who knows?
And as soon as the news comes out, there's no bread in the stores and no toilet paper in the stores.
That's right.
A hurricane's coming then.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I'm with you. Even at Walmart. I'm with you. All right, there's a word for you, Walmart. Where did they come? Oh, I know why. My brain always jumping to the next thing. All right, so what we do here is we're going to talk about a few words. Oh, Gina's coming in. There she is.
Well,
Let's bring Gina in.
An announcement.
Boker Tov. Kodesh. Rosh
How are you?
Kodesh Tov.
What's that? Uh-oh.
Rosh Kodesh Tov.
Oh, Rosh. Yeah, there we go. I'm with you on that. New moon coming up. All right. Well, Gina, you know Larry. You've met Larry before. This is Larry's wife, Deborah.
Hi, Deborah.
This is Gina Hood. She does a show called Mishkan Katan. And I always have to, it's another one of those things I have to read because I used to know a word, Mishnakan. There was a word that I used to use 30, 40, 50 years ago called Mishnakan. And every time I think of her name, I have to stop and make sure I don't say Mishnakan. So anyway, Mishkan Katan. What does that mean, Dina?
It means little tabernacle.
Little tabernacle.
Yeah, and it's based off of the verse that says your bodies are a tabernacle of the Holy Spirit. That the Apostle Paul wrote about.
Very good.
So
I like it. I like it. And Gina's show is on Wednesday mornings. If you're Wednesday mornings, no matter what time zone you're in.
Yeah, 11 for me.
11 a.m. on the East Coast. So it's going to be. See, I have to deal with shows that are in early afternoon. And when I tell people, well, it's after, but it might be morning for you, So I'm real good with just changing up time. That's one of my biggest pet peeves is I don't think we need to have time zones at all. I think there just needs to be one time. And also I've always had a problem No, I mean all over the world, it's midnight to midnight. Like it's a 24-hour clock, but it's not necessarily based on day or night. In other words, if it's 1 o'clock, or if it's like 1 o'clock a.m. here, then it might be it's going to be 1 o'clock in Africa a.m. Okay, but everybody knows is that if I'm going to get a hold of you at 1 o'clock, then I'm going to get a hold of you at 1 o'clock. See? You don't have to figure out the stinking time zones and everything. And everybody's so set on if it's 1 a.m., it's in the middle of the night. Well, it might be somewhere, but not everywhere. See?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because I have to deal with people in time zones all the time, and it's frustrating for me.
Yeah.
And another big thing when we're talking about time here is 12. Who in the world came up with 12 being at the top of the clock?
Trying to be the
I mean,
Greeks.
It's the stupidest concept anybody ever came up with. It's like, no, it's okay, 0. It's 0, 001 or something.
But 0 wasn't invented until.
But I know. I know. I know. I know physics. I know all that, but still, it just doesn't make any sense.
Take it and run.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now that I've got that off my chest,
So now you're going to talk about seasons.
No. Well, no.
How dare they have different
Yeah.
seasons down in Australia?
Now, what is it? The where you change an hour twice a year, all that stuff is like the stupidest thing.
Oh, daylight savings time.
Daylight savings time, yeah. All that
Saves
kind of
nothing.
There we go. All right. Man, I'm glad I got that out. I'm so good now. All right. We try to do some word stuff here, and used to be that I brought up several different possibilities of things that we could talk about, but it takes up a lot of time, and I'd like to get to a couple other things too. So I've kind of boiled it down to the same, your secular word, biblical word, those, but you don't have to do all of them. I kind of look through them because I've got so many here. But I'll start us off today, and then when we get to you, just any of them that you want to play with here. The secular, non-biblical word or secular expression that you find is commonly misused, to me, is it's just unbelievable, or that's unreal, and believe me, I do it all the time. I'll see something like watch newscasts. That's unbelievable. Well, I don't know. Is it fake news? I don't know. But, there's so many things that are just so extreme anymore. It's like we just automatically express by saying that's unbelievable or that's unreal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Well,
anybody agree with that? Or?
I think unbelievable is different from unreal. Unbelievable, you're talking about, I
Belief
don't
system.
believe that you're actually saying that. Or I don't believe what I see is true.
Yeah.
Now, that might be the case.
Right.
So.
But it's the way we use those words is the way I'm talking about. In other words, yeah, it's probably believable and it most likely is real, but immediately, I say, well, that's unbelievable. But then I catch myself because I hear myself saying it and I'm going, no, it is believable, but I don't want to believe it.
Yeah, it's actually you're saying I disagree.
Yeah, exactly.
Accept it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. A lot more. What, Gina? I see it in your face.
I was just thinking about the word sensational. It's almost like saying when you say that's unreal or that's unbelievable, you don't really mean either of those literally, but what you're saying is that is astounding or that is sensational. That's so surprising that it's just astounding.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You ever watch the show Cops?
I've seen it before.
I've been watching a few. I caught on to it lately and been kind of checking out a few episodes. Let me tell you what, the way people respond when they get pulled over by cops is really unbelievable. It's like, I cannot believe you guys actually act like that when a cop pulls you over.
Well, do you think any part of it is staged or prearranged?
No, I don't think it is at all. The craziest thing is when they run. You know, they get them out of the car, and they'll even run with handcuffs on.
And I often think when they're doing that, it's like, where are they going?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you're running with handcuffs. You don't think that this cop is going to catch you?
And the cop got a gun.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. Anyway, I think that's what I use it the most is when I see people do stuff that's like, this is not going to turn out well.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable that you're even thinking that. And when they ask them, why did you run? I don't know. I got scared. I don't know. And 90% of the time, all they were going to do was give them a ticket for whatever it was that they pulled them over for. But if you run, it's a federal offense.
Oh.
Just because you ran, you are now going to jail.
What if you walk?
What's that?
What if you walk away?
I don't know. It's all part
of speed fall into it.
What?
Does speed fall into it? About whether or not you're guilty.
Yeah.
How fast or how quickly you can get away.
I can't. It's unbelievable to me.
It's
not really unreal because I just watched it.
Really unreal.
All right. We're good. Okay. So anybody else got a word they want to or expression they want to share on this that's commonly misused? Or
I have one. I've been thinking about the great missing Annie. The word Annie is often eclipsed for a lesser word. And this isn't a recent development, but in listening to some song lyrics, instead of saying something like, I don't love you anymore, it becomes, I don't love you no more, and that's just one example, but any has it may be on its way out, and so that's just a word that I was thinking about that just seems to be falling into disfavor.
It puts everything in a big conglomerate. Go ahead, Deborah.
Well, it's just like they don't understand sentence structure.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't love me no more, that's a double negative. It's saying that you do.
Exactly.
And what has happened is over the years, since English has not been taught properly in our schools, they don't understand sentence structure or the use of proper words in a sentence or a paragraph. Because if you're using double negatives all the time, you can't really get a clear concept across. You just can't do it. And and so, I don't love you no more. Say, oh well, that's a double negative. So,
but that's country.
Tells me, but that's They say, well, that's country. No, it's not, honey. It's stupid. That's what that is.
It's
Stupid and it's ignorance. You know,
Ebonics is what it is. It's Ebonics. Another example
Yeah.
of that is I don't want none. And that's
Same
another
thing.
same
Double negative.
I don't want none. Instead of I don't want any,
Mhm.
I don't want none.
Then I would say, well, how much do you want then?
All you can just say is none. Just say one word.
No.
None.
Well, being raised in the Catholic Church, that means something different. I don't want none.
Okay. Little homonym action going on today.
Yep. Well, if you said I don't love you no more, then how much do you love me? I mean, but you wouldn't want to say I love you no more.
That would actually be accurate.
Yeah, that would be accurate. I love you no more. But yeah, when you use a double negative, it puts it in the positive.
Mm-hmm.
No matter
It's
what.
like math. It's
Yeah.
like two negatives make a positive.
That's right.
But then you have to talk about what are negatives. we don't deal with that anymore. In
Very
school.
well. Depends on which side you're on.
Well, I would say that in class, and they would look at me like deer in the headlight. That's a double negative. Yeah, so. Okay, let's go talk to the English teacher. Or your language arts teacher, not English teacher anymore.
And
There you go.
because kids don't understand negative numbers, whenever you're talking about a negative, and then you bring it into your sentence structure and your language, they're totally confused. It blows their mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because they may be thinking, well, you got two negatives, and a negative and a negative is a negative.
That's two negatives.
Well, that's math. That's mathematics.
Math.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
that's
what's
reaction.
mathematics? What's that?
This is social studies, Mr. Sikiri. What are you talking math and language arts for? Never mind.
I noticed when I was still in education full time, I would notice that students would have trouble translating content from subject to subject.
Right.
Mhm.
Like they would get in the science zone, and then they couldn't get out of the science zone to transfer any of those principles to another discipline.
Right.
Mhm.
That's why when I was in it full time, we would say to teachers, ask your students to write about what you just taught them. If they can write about it, then they totally do understand it because it crossed disciplines,
I think about that for adults too. Forget the kids in school. It makes me wonder sometimes the comprehension of adults, and I mean even for the fact that most churches, probably shouldn't even say churches of all different religions, when they do a sermon, their sermon only lasts 20 to 40 minutes because the people are not going to stay, inattentive to that. And then even if you only taught your sermon for 20 minutes, pick some random people out of your audience and say, now, what was it that I was just talking about? Because most people, I just don't think even comprehend it at 20 minutes.
Deer in the headlight.
That's true.
But you have the station like what we're doing here when most of our shows are an hour long, is that you get people that do comprehend these things, that want to learn those things. It's like when they're in school, they're being forced to go learn something. For I don't know, I wouldn't say the most part, but it's something different. We were talking about double negatives, and this isn't a double negative, but Larry and I have talked about this on other shows, is that Monty Judah, who used to be my rabbi, talking about congregations that would split up because somebody in the congregation comes up with, well, I don't agree with that, and neither does a whole bunch of us, so we're going to go start a new congregation or a new ministry or something. And Monty always called that multiplication by division, which is 100% true.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Accurate.
It's accurate, but that always stuck in my mind. Is every time I think about split ups, I always think, well, that's it. It's just following right through.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in our county, we have the highest per capita number of churches in the whole state of North Carolina because of that multiplication by division.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I used to teach a class called Why We Believe What We Believe. And one of my very first lessons was talking about the 9,486 different denominations of churches that were out there. And this is like probably 15 years or so ago that I taught this. And it was some research that I did, and that's the number I came up with. And it's all based on how one person will take one scripture and say, the Holy Ghost told me that that's what that means. And then you get somebody else that says, well, no, the Holy Ghost told me that that verse means this. Or you get somebody else say, no, the Holy Ghost told me that verse means this, and it's completely different. What do we got? 9,486 different Holy Ghosts?
Exactly.
You know, because it's just the way people put it. And it's always baffled me, mankind. Period.
Well, from what we know about the churches around here, I've often said that what they ought to have on their marquee is family owned and operated. Because that's basically how the church is split around here.
Because I've heard more than one pastor say, my church. Excuse me, but where's God in this? It's your church, and I don't want to have anything to do with it.
Family owned and operated.
Family owned and operated, and it is the truth. And it's like, okay, you know, what are you teaching?
Funny where we can get out of double negatives, isn't it?
Yeah.
You started it.
Good one, Gina. I like it. It's most of these you can take a whole hour talking about them.
Yeah.
Very good.
Have you guys discussed the word woke?
Only in general. I don't think as a word yet that is out. It's on my list. Matter of fact, it's right here. Woke and politically correct is right in my Donna's mom, when she lived here with us, you know, she was listening to the news with us, and she'd hear woke all the time. She'd go, what is woke? And the easiest way I could tell her is, do you know what politically correct is? And she said, yes. Well, when you hear woke, think of that, and it's the easiest way to get around it.
You get around it, right? Yeah. That's true. But that's a word that is totally taken out of context and content and used to describe politicizing something. You know, and it's like, it took me a while to understand it, and it just makes my skin crawl when I hear it, because it's like, you have no idea what you're talking about. None. You know, yeah, you may be woke to what? To really deep sin and lies and things that you don't really believe in, but you think that the majority of the world believes that way because you have grasped onto their concepts of what is normal. And I really don't think they understand what normalcy is any longer. Like, there's only two genders, because that's the way Yah created us. And you can't constantly screw it up like Hasatan likes to do. And so I see it as a word that comes from Hasatan himself to confuse the masses who really have no relationship with the Father.
Mm.
And so I just see it as another instance where Hasatan has gotten his fingernail, so to speak, and then it spreads because you got the news media that are just so willing to try and control the masses to believe as they do or don't believe at all. And it's, to me, it's infuriates me on one hand, and on the other hand, I see it makes you really see and understand how lost everyone is, how lost the world is, and that we need to be praying for everybody and just praying against all the spiritual entities that are fighting against us and trying to get us to believe the way Satan wants us to believe. That's why it's so important to read your scripture, read your parsha, pray daily, and just grasp on to everything that you possibly can that is of the Father.
Yeah.
That is of Yeshua's ways and the way that we need to be walking and following Torah. That's it.
Amen. Yeah, I see the opposite of woke being common sense.
Yeah, it is.
And common sense should come from the Father.
Yeah.
True. It's ethical, moral,
Yeah.
all those things should just be common sense.
Yeah, because they throw the word moral is just thrown around all the time, and they have absolutely no idea what that means.
Right.
The meaning of it. Well, it was moral because, the president, he just made a moral decision on whether or not we should be not paying taxes. That has nothing to do with morality.
Right.
Nothing. And so that's what is always, that concept's always thrown out there all the time. And when you have young people or children that are hearing that don't have a concept of common sense because they're not being taught it by their parents, which comes from God. They're not being taught how to use that and to discern what they're hearing. They're going to fall for it. They're just going to fall hook, line, and sinker for that concept, those notions, which are not sound.
It's usually perpetual too.
Yes.
Especially with social media can just set forth a new morality, a new standard, a new wokeness, all that kind of stuff. I think a similar word is that I noticed along with it is the weaponizing.
Yes.
Things. Go ahead, Larry. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, when I first came in contact with the concept of woke, I thought it was an acronym, and I spent so many minutes trying to figure out what the WOKE stands for because it just didn't make sense. I know woke means you came out of sleep. It's like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
How's that apply?
You're woke to what?
Wow, that's what it is. You've been asleep to common sense, and now you need to woke up to the new way of doing things.
Yeah.
Become a Democrat today.
Boy, that's bad English.
The first time I ever heard that word was probably 6 or 7 years ago. My good friend was fostering a teenage girl, and she was a young lady of color, and she was in the local high school, and she began using that word, and she didn't want us to use it. It was like that word was the proprietary word for young people, and if older people used it, we tried to use it. We would say, "Oh, that's so woke," just to drive her crazy. And she would say, "No, you can't say that. You're too old to use that word." And we just found that very curious, and so we asked her. We were like, "Well, what does woke mean?" And in her vocabulary, it meant young and hip and with it, and not burdened by old-fashioned standards of common sense, morality, and way of doing things. You know, it was this is the new way of doing things. This is what the young hip people are doing. That's woke. You know, like you have awakened to this better way that your elders know nothing of. That's
being unburdened by the things that have been.
Oh no! Oh no!
That's right. And you know, a misused word, speaking of that, is progressive. In other words, we're being woke because we're progressive. We're not going to just sit and be the same all the time. We need to progress in society. And so the best way to the new Cracker Barrel. Have you guys heard about this?
Yeah,
Oh
changing the sign.
Gosh, you want to talk about woke? You want to talk about trying to fit in with the new society, and all they've got is nothing but backlash.
Yeah.
Extreme people that are against it, and very few that are for it. You know, that is and the DEI. I thought it was, I just like so thrilled right after Trump took office and he did away with DEI. Then the news for the next week was hundreds of big, huge businesses all doing away with their DEI programs. That tells me they didn't want them in the first place.
exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And so it's like unbelievable. I mean, even the concept of DEI was so wrong. It was unbelievable. You want to talk about now there's a big deal of kids going to college. When they get out of college, there's no jobs.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was because of DEI.
Right,
These people were getting hired in jobs that required 4 years of college, and they'd never been to anything but a community college or something.
Well, some of them have never been there. Have never been, or even graduated high school. The only thing they had was a GED.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Ridiculous. Absolutely. Thank God. I love what Gutfeld says. We don't deserve him.
We don't deserve
But
it.
are we in the third section of the show now?
I don't know where we're at. We're not in any section at all. It's a general thing.
Oh shucks! I thought finally we got to the third section.
Yeah, no. That's all right. We'll get there. We'll get there. So, Larry, what's your
Well, I was
word?
I was thinking the other day when somebody asked, "Are you going to say grace?" It's like, wow. What does that mean? I mean, I know what it means, but where did that concept of, are you going to say grace before meals? Well, and as a kid, we used to make fun of it and say, okay, grace.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where did the concept of calling a blessing, on the food or whatever, why is that called grace? That's something that I brought to the table here that I want to know what you guys think about. Where does it come from?
I thought same thing. Well, I don't know where it came from. So go ahead.
No, I don't either. Maybe we should ask Rabbi Google.
Well, I'm on AI right now.
Hey, Bob Hall, do you know?
Hey, Bob, do you know?
I see he's commenting.
Yeah. Oh, he is?
Yeah. Well, I love Cracker Barrel too, but unfortunately it's not kosher. You know, I love their food, but you have to be careful because everything's got pork in it.
They put pork in the turnip greens. They put pork in just about
everything. And it's just it's a Southern thing. And it's like, so what I have to do when I go to Cracker Barrel, I get the chicken or the fish because I know most of the times they're not cooking it with bacon. you
Right.
know, or have to make sure that it's just all chicken or whatever. And so I've even asked about their chicken pot pie. I said, do you put bacon in it? But they don't.
Mhm.
Now I have had chicken pot pie in the South where bacon was included inside of it, so I couldn't get it. You know, I wouldn't eat it. But
In the
I
South,
love
they
Cracker
put
Barrel.
bacon in everything.
And I think what they're doing is that by removing the actual Cracker Barrel from their logo, is trying to get attention.
Uh-huh.
You know, maybe maybe sales have gone down or whatever, and so if they get some kind of controversy going, they're going to
Yeah.
you know take off the Cracker Barrel.
Well, what they did was they took off the quote white guy sitting in the rocker.
The cracker. The
The
cracker.
cracker. Yeah. The white guy, the cracker.
Yeah, but where's the barrel?
That's true.
There's the guy, we got the guy sitting there with his arm over the Cracker Barrel. You know, he happens to be white, unfortunately.
They could have put a person of color on the other side of the barrel, but instead they took it all off. It's like,
yeah, so just or just put the barrel there. And so it's a Cracker Barrel, a barrel of crackers, because that's the way they used to have them in the old-fashioned stores. Oh, there's a word, old-timey.
oh,
Yeah, it just really gets Larry.
yeah.
But it's instead of old-fashioned, they say old-timey.
Or just old time.
Old time, and it's
In the old time. And the other word, since we're on a roll here with us, is hoodie. When did they start using the word hoodie for hoods?
You know,
to
like
me, that was
a sweatshirt with a hood on it.
Yeah.
It's a 5-year-old
Sure.
expression.
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's
That's
like-
what I thought. It was like
It's a hooded shirt.
I used to call my kids put on, you know, when they're little, put on your hoodie.
Put on
You
your
know,
hood.
don't call it a hoodie, Dad. Now everybody calls it a hoodie. It's like, when did that start? That's a pet peeve. Sorry.
Okay, Gina, what'd you find on Grace? Did you look it up? You said
No,
you did.
you said you were going to ask AI.
Oh, I did. I went to AI where, I mean, I use AI every single day, all the time, and I love it. AI says the practice of grace before meals originates from both Jewish and Christian traditions, tracing back to biblical accounts where Jesus and his followers offered thanks for food. The word grace itself comes from the Latin gratarium actio, meaning act of thanks.
And so that Catholic Church was the one that was notorious for using Latin.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Wow. That's it. And it next, let me finish.
Okay.
While the exact origin of the specific Catholic prayer, bless us, O Lord, is unclear, it is found in some sacramentary or whatever like that. But
Yeah,
that's what it's from the Latin. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm ashamed. I'm a former Catholic, and I didn't know that.
There you go. Well, you know, I mean, it still works. You know, it's just that it's another word that we use not knowing why we use it.
Yeah.
We just use it because that's the way we learned to do it.
Yep.
There we go. I like it. Okay. Very good. Very good. Any other words anybody else has got that I have one. My favorite Bible word is self-control, found in Galatians 5:22 and 23. Which is something that I find I have to keep in line for myself every day of my life, is using self-control and making sure that I don't let something that is not of God influence me. And that, you know, I mean, it's a constant battle for everybody. You don't just get saved and everything, your whole mind thing is set the same. Like Dylan says, I'm going to change my way of thinking. Well, it doesn't just automatically happen. You have to use self-control and make it happen. And
You're
self-control to me is one of those things where after you've used it for a long period of time, then it just becomes natural.
You're immediately made right with God. You're immediately justified, but you're not immediately sanctified.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You're walking out your salvation. You're walking it out.
Yeah.
Growing in sanctification.
Yeah. You're not running it out. You're walking it out.
I like it a lot. Anything else anybody wants to share before we go on to the next segment? If not, we're good. All right, good. Okay, we're going to do a see. Monday Torah portion. Yeah, let's do it.
I like that, Mark.
Okay. Yeah, I do too. So this week is Shoftim, which is I don't remember exact span of it, but Deuteronomy 19 is what I'm coming up with here, which I think is interesting. And I've often wondered this ever since, before Trump took office, and we heard about sanctuary cities in the United States. And Deuteronomy 19 talks about cities of refuge. And so, speaking of cities of refuge, it was different. This is where if you killed somebody and you want to wait until you can go to court, which means that you are actually agreeing to this, then you can hold for a while until you're taken to court and everything. But the sanctuary cities that we have set up now here in the United States are totally different. They're just to how.
What's the matter?
Mark froze up.
Mark, you're frozen.
Yeah, he lost his signal or something, I guess.
Those people that don't have.
Mark, you're breaking up.
Well, my goodness.
Well, let's start talking about sanctuary cities.
Okay. Sanctuary cities are they're a government initiative, and Shoftim is important because Shoftim is a parsha that helped the young Hebrew nation, the new bride, married at Sinai, learn how to organize itself for justice, learn how to organize itself to function in a healthy governmental manner. And so the Levitical concept of sanctuary cities, cities of refuge, shall we say, has been somewhat bastardized, or maybe a lot bastardized, by our modern day concept of sanctuary cities. They're not at all the same thing.
No.
They're not at all the same thing.
No, not even close to it.
From my understanding of it is that if you accidentally murdered someone,
Right, it would be accidental.
Murder. Well, okay, you accidentally killed somebody. You could go and live there, so that the avenger of the family, of the relative of the person that was killed, couldn't take vengeance on you.
Right.
Which tells me that it was all right if somebody took vengeance on someone that killed. But you could run to that and you could live there, but you'd have to, I think you'd have to live there for the rest of your life. Because as soon as you left that city, then the family has the right to do away with you.
Yeah, you were still fair game at that point. And that's that point that you made about it being an unintentional killing is consistent with the whole Torah concept of forgiveness for unintentional sin. There was no tabernacle or temple sacrifice for intentional sin.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
Only for unintentional. So it would be going against Torah, actually, if you could have a city of refuge used for a murder, for a meditated, intentional murder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think that's where the blood avenger comes in, is that if it was murder, and you went to a city of refuge for someone who had committed murder, that if you stepped outside that city gates, that's when the blood avenger could have you.
Yeah.
And that would be until everybody in the family who had, until they had all died of the family that you had murdered that particular person. Any person who wanted to take up that mantle as a blood avenger could do it until either you died, the one who committed the murder, or all the family members who were willing to take up that mantle and pursue it. So it's like it was perpetual. And so that was a way. Oh, there he is. There was a way to keep murders and to keep them, I guess, at bay, and to keep more or less a handle on it.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if you lived in that sanctuary city and you had a person that actually murdered, not just unintentionally, but intentionally, and they came into your sanctuary city, you had the duty to get that person out of there and to take them to justice.
If it was premeditated.
Yeah.
So that goes against the concept of sanctuary city, because what the government officials are doing in sanctuary cities is saying, we're not going to follow the law. Whereas a city of refuge, they had the duty to follow the law. If there was a murderer in their midst, they had to take him out and stone him.
Yeah. And let the family know that he was there and that was going to happen. And so they were supposed to be invited to be involved, or they should be told that was going to happen. He was there, they're going to stone him, and this is what's getting ready to happen. So if the blood avenger wanted to come to that and make witness, he could go and take part in it, or just be a witness. So it's like what they have now. They're not really there are sanctuary cities, but it's the concept that it is now is just so blown out of proportion.
Well, I believe that the concept of sanctuary city comes from a Roman Catholic practice, in that if you were trying to escape from the law or from anybody, you could come into the church building and go up on the altar and grab onto the altar, and they could not come in and take you. So you had sanctuary in what they call
sanctuary.
The sanctuary.
Yeah. Yeah. So as long as you were holding onto the altar, because there were dead people's bones in the altar. As long as you were hanging on to that altar, the priests or the monks, whoever were in charge of that particular building, they were there to protect you against the law, against anybody. So that was claiming sanctuary in the minds of the Roman Catholic Church.
Wasn't there somebody in the Old Testament some Old Testament, some Tanakh story where somebody grabbed hold of the horns of the altar? What was
I believe so.
that?
Well, I think people did that, but I don't remember it being somebody looking for sanctuary.
I believe if they grabbed onto the horns of the altar, they would burn their hands.
Well, yes.
That altar was a burning altar.
I don't remember. So our present day around the United States, what's called sanctuary cities, is that supposed to be based on biblical, cities of refuge. They don't call it sanctuary cities in the Bible. It's called cities of refuge.
Yeah.
And but sanctuary means set apart. So it would mean that they are setting these people apart. My question has always been that when they were letting all these people come in during the last 4 years, did they not even fathom the possibility that others besides people that really did need refuge? Because a lot of the people that came across the border were not criminals. But I can't fathom the idea that Biden's administration didn't realize that others that are criminals would be coming through at the same time. And what gets me is they have records. They have all these records. They even knew that a lot of these people had already had committed crimes in Mexico and Honduras and all the other places that they came from. So I guess I don't understand the logic behind letting these people in knowing this. I don't get it. Where is the logic? Where's the common sense behind that?
I think they were willing to take the chance just for the numbers, because we're in a situation now, like in Texas, they want to redistrict based and change the rules about not counting illegal aliens.
Right.
Whereas the whole concept of letting the borders open was to get all these people in
for votes.
For
exactly,
not necessarily for votes, just for representation.
Which translates into votes. Yeah, I don't think they could see past the next election. They realized that there was such a razor thin margin between the two ideologies, and they're diametrically opposed ideologies. And they knew that if they were explicit and forthcoming about their actual ideology, they could never win politically on ideas alone, because there's still, I believe, a majority of people in this country who really do understand right from wrong, as the Bible puts it. But that margin is getting smaller, and they were, I think it was two things. It was the votes. It was the false votes, the fake votes, the redistricting, the seats in Congress, and all of that. But let me tell you a story. I know an actual woman who is she's very wealthy. She owns many properties, and she manages those properties. And because she owns several, she also owns a landscaping business. And where does she get her labor to man her landscaping business? She goes and goes down to the border, and she picks up these young Hispanic males, and she puts them to work on a cash only basis in her landscaping business to maintain her many properties. And so it was not, it was greed and power, which, should come as no surprise to anybody. But she's astoundingly, right? Sarcasm here. Astoundingly, she is very politically liberal. And because by cutting off her supply of free, cheap labor, almost free, cheap labor, it's hurting her bottom line, you see. So there's that aspect as well.
Well, this is what it's all about within the country nowadays. It's just the bottom line. You have all these wealthy landowners and those who can hire domestics to come in to work, clean their homes and all that at a subpar amount of money because they are illegal. They're beholden to the wealthy, and that's the way the liberals like it. They like it like that because it's helping them to stay in business. They don't have to pay insurance on these people. They don't have to pay Social Security, federal income tax, state tax, or anything else for having them work with them. If they just want to give them some cash, then you just go on. You just do what I want you to do, and then good luck. That's basically what they do. And because the border's been closed and all this, now they're going to have to be accountable for their money and what they're doing with it, and then having to actually budget themselves a little bit instead of having so much money to spend and to pay all these protesters to go and wreak havoc wherever that they are, because they're not able to have all their quote unquote almost free labor anymore. Right. And really, everything that's happening in this country has to do with monetary enhancement of yourself. That's what it is. And so if you look at it for what it is, that it comes to just the bottom line all the way around. How much money what am I going to get out of it? And so you're looking at all these liberals, and there are some conservatives that are doing it too. So it doesn't mean that just because they're conservative that they're honest people. That's not true. That's not true.
And I don't understand the concept of sanctuary city in terms of changing the vote, because I think we all know that all the major cities vote Democrat anyway.
Yeah.
So if you're going after getting the illegals to vote, it's not going to change that. I think that the concept is to get them into areas where red states, where the red states are dominant, or where in areas where red is dominant, and to mix that up. So again, it gets down to increasing the population.
In my congregation, there's a lady who is a poll manager, and in my local community, we have an election tomorrow, and it's a local election to elect a commissioner for one post on the county commission, and it happens to be my post. So I've already early voted. So has my husband. And then the other race in this special election is to elect a state senator, because our current state senator, you might say, is a Trump appointee. President Trump tapped him to fill a position in the U.S. Treasury. And so we're having to elect someone to take his spot. But my point is, I got in a conversation at services yesterday with this lady, and she was talking about how much confusion there is. And this goes back to our Parsha. It may seem like we're getting very far afield here, but we're really not. It goes back to our Parsha because our Parsha this week is about organizing a society so that there is justice, right? And appointing judges, righteous judges, and so forth. Right. But she was talking about how difficult her job has been with this election, because people drive by and they see signs on the road, and they get in conversation with their neighbors, and they come to the polls to vote, and they'll say to her, "Why isn't the county commissioner race on my ballot?" Because during early voting, you can go vote at any of the voting places that are open for early voting in my municipality. You can do that. I normally vote at place A, but place B is just right down the road from me. So my husband and I early vote because it's just more convenient to do it on our own schedule and to go to the closer place rather than traveling further to our assigned polling place. So anyway, that's where she works, the one where we go vote, the one close to us. And so she was saying, I have to try to explain to these people that the reason you don't have the commissioner race on your ballot is because you don't live in that post. Your commissioner is post 3. This is a race for post 1. And they just look at her like they think that she's trying to take their vote away from them. She can be a little harsh, to be honest, but they look at her with suspicion, and it's just hard for her to get them to understand. And this goes back to, we were talking about this yesterday when I was in middle school, which admittedly was a long time ago. So it's been over 50 years since this was true in my state. And I know y'all live in North Carolina. So I don't know. I lived in North Carolina for a while, but I never studied North Carolina history. So I don't really know how it is in your state. But in Georgia, until around 1970, early 70s, in order to graduate, you had to take a class as a senior called American Government. And you had to pass that class. And in that class, you learned all about the governmental structure of the United States. You learned how elections worked and so on and so forth. Well, our education system in the early 70s said that is no longer a requirement for graduation. Well, what did that accomplish? It accomplished us producing several generations of civic ignoramuses. Okay. We're talking about the degradation of our language. We've also had a degradation of, we've also had a pestilence of ignorance about our nation's civics, how our nation operates. And people just don't understand. And I said to her yesterday, I said, well, you have to applaud them because they wanted to come vote. They cared enough to come vote. And a lot of people don't even care about that. Right. But they did not understand exactly what they were doing. So it's disturbing. And of course, now we call it not history. We call it social studies. And the emphasis has shifted to studying about social things, how people relate to each other, not organized government, not how to participate in a civil society. It's fallen off the wagon, y'all. It's bad.
Yeah. I've never been that interested in it until the last 20 years. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah. One of the last things that I did before I retired from teaching was I was on the there was a survey that went around to all the social studies teachers about what you think should be emphasized in the curriculum for the next 5 years. And one of the things that was on there that had to do with gender relationships. And here I am teaching in 7th grade and 6th grade and 8th grade. And I just wrote back, I don't think, these kids aren't mature enough brain-wise in order to deal with common everyday things, let alone you're going to throw this gender studies on them. And I just said, no, this can't be. Well, my word meant nothing, and it was incorporated into the next decades of let's say that was 5 years, so it's still in there right now, that gender studies. And I didn't have enough time to teach the history part, let alone
Wow.
let alone teach that stuff. And we had end of year tests, and they would send out what emphasis the end of year tests would, and more than half the stuff that was going to be emphasized on the end of the year test, I'd never taught, because it dealt with gender stuff and stuff like, and it's like, no.
I'm with it. I get it.
In my state, the way that they come up with the curriculum that's going to be taught for a major subject area is they pick teachers from across the state to come to the state. In Georgia, it's called the Twin Towers. That's where the State Department of Education is housed. And they go up there and they hash it out and they come up with a curriculum. Well, I have heard it said years and years and years ago that the most fractious, divisive, argumentative, almost coming to physical blows with each other curriculum committees are in social studies. Because of this very thing that Larry was just describing. And this alignment is very important, because see, if they can get the tests such that the tests reflect in bulk, the majority of the test is this satanic nonsense that they're trying to force feed our kids, then what is a teacher going to do? A teacher wants their kids to pass the test, because the teachers are evaluated on how well their kids do on the test. And there's only a certain number of hours in the school day. Deborah and Larry, I'm a former elementary school principal. So just so that you know a little bit of my background. So, teachers are going to jettison something that they strongly believe in, that they strongly believe should be taught. They're going to jettison that so that they have time to teach this pablum, this satanic gobbledygook. Kids can pass the test.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we were always told not to teach the test. Yeah. But
but you
know,
that's not what they meant.
Yeah.
We want our school to look good,
Yeah,
I had
exactly
this
right.
principal one time. He's
Teach the
personal
test,
friend.
but you don't teach the test.
This principal friend of mine and my husband's, he was a funny man. One day the box arrived, the cardboard box. This was in late May, and I was I was his assistant. He was the principal, and we got the call. The box has arrived. What was it? It was the state test scores, right? And so I remember he was a follower of Yeshua. He comes running in with this box, and he sits down on the floor of his office, and he says, "Gina, let's kneel down and pray over this box." And I was like, "Julia, we should have prayed over the whole kids." A little late now, Julia. We're asking for a miracle now, right?
Yeah. It's almost like magic. Lord, change what's in there and make it right for us. Where's my magic wand here? Here's my magic wand, and I'm praying.
Yeah. And getting back to the point, it's the old concept. If you have the youth, then you have the future.
Yes.
So that's why the attack is through the educational system.
Yeah.
And our Parsha talks about that, in that, you, not only the priests should know this, but this is the part that every, every 7 years, that the whole Torah would be taught to the people, to educate the people. And it just says that men should show up, but men and their whole families showed up and listened to the Torah being taught to them every 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to do that at Sukkot every 7 years. As a matter of fact, I was the person asked to make up a binder with and print out all of Deuteronomy, printed the whole thing out into a binder where we could have different people read on different days.
Mhm.
And by the end of Sukkot, we had read all the way through it, which was really good. This is great. Gina, thank you for bringing up the Torah portion in whole, because it does apply for everything that we've been talking. And our present day is what it is. And that's what I love, is bringing Torah into the present day. And some of the things you were talking about, the history, especially before we lived here on the East Coast, we lived in the middle part of North Carolina in our tiny house on some friends' land. They had like 47 acres or something, and they wanted us just to park the tiny house there. We lived there for a year. Well, the people who owned this land, we would, of course, they were our friends. They were right next door. We used to go in, watch movies, talk about stuff, Sabbath, all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that they were so huge on, along with the people that they knew, is how recorded history and the history that's being taught in the schools about Lincoln was so far off. And they were telling me people in the South don't look at Lincoln the way that people in the North look at Lincoln, because of all the things that he actually did that are not in the history book. As a matter of fact, we watched the movie Lincoln with Daniel Day-Lewis, and about every so often we'd have to pause and they'd say, okay, well, that's not the way it was. And it helped me to understand that we don't always have the righteous historical account of everything that's happened, before we were ever born. We have to go with what's been written or what's been passed down through the ages. The only thing that is concrete is the Bible. And then we got 9,336 stinking translations of that. So which one do you trust there? And so actually it was around that time that I started understanding, that things are not really always what we're told that they are. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was even believing politics and, whatever the government said and that type of thing. My wife has always been a conspiracy theorist, and she will tell you that. And she's very well versed in it, very verbal about it. About the only thing she's really very verbal about. But and I was always to the point of trusting, whereas she doesn't trust. And I think it really started taking head when the COVID vaccines started, being real heavy duty, and they were going in. And of course, we're a part of groups that was hearing the truth and knowing the truth and expressing the truth, like the Craigs, John Craig, and several other people we knew. Well, my wife is agreeing. Yeah, I almost took the vaccine. I almost took it because I just could not believe there were that many people behind a hoax, and that they were actually instigating it through our government. I could not believe that. I would not believe that. my wife constantly after me and everybody else. I finally did not take the jab. I didn't do it.
Good.
But I still have always had these things in the back of my mind. And that's why at the beginning of the segment, when I brought up sanctuary cities and that the Biden administration allowed these people to come in knowing they were bringing in major criminals from other countries, I couldn't believe that. It's like, no, I don't believe that. And so, I have to be convinced of these things because I spent my life being
trusting the government. Yeah.
These things that I'm being told. And before all of this, before Trump and all the big controversy and everything, your newscast did actually bring pretty good real news.
Yeah, they brought that.
Not opinionated news and the whole thing. And so that's why I still struggle with the fact that, and now of course I'm finding out, especially with the auto pen, with the Biden administration and all the things, and especially Russiagate. Oh my gosh, they better hold those people accountable. They went in and what was the guy's name? They searched his house Friday. Yeah, this is the beginning investigation of that Russiagate thing, and it's only just started of what it is. And I have to understand now that a massive amount of people can know these things are wrong and still allow them to happen.
Yeah.
Evil.
At 70 years old, it blows me away that this is now, but it's like a cop that does something wrong. In other words, he does criminal stuff. And so when they convict him, then all his past arrests now come in question. Now it's the same thing with me is that now that I'm learning these things really are true, all the past history of stuff now comes in question.
Yeah.
I can remember back when I found out that Josephus wrote lies. There were a lot of the stuff that he wrote were just things he made up. They were not truthful accounts of different things that he, a lot of people just accepted him to be the history writer of Yeshua's time, when in fact he lied about a lot of different, they've proven that a lot of things he wrote about were lies. And so it's one of those things that now set me in motion. What do I believe and what do I not believe? What's real? What is the I will admit to it because I try to keep transparency, especially with translations that of the Bible that get so whacked out and so apart, even to find out that King James was one of the most anti-Semitic people there was in history, and he wrote the biggest Bible that's ever been sold. No wonder there's anti-Semitism in Christianity. All of those things. So my point is, God, it's a constant prayer, Lord, reveal all that is hidden. Lord, please reveal. Please let me understand and fathom and get a concept of where we are today. What is happening? Where is it going? What's the deal? and we got 2 minutes. So respond. Anybody respond briefly to any of that?
Well, the one thing that came to my mind, we're talking about how history books kind of gloss over people and stuff like that. Well, the Torah is completely different. I mean, the Torah presents people really as they were. You look at Judah and how, he's the forerunner of the tribe of Judah. And yet, the things that he did with his daughter-in-law and stuff like that, it's all right there. True concepts and true depiction of human beings in there. And you can't object to that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I think too that whenever we're in, I guess, a part of our life where we have the government that is mandating different things in our lives, what always came to mind for me was, whose report are you going to believe? I'm going to believe the report of the Lord. The report of the Lord has nothing to do with the government.
Yeah.
It has to do what God and the Holy Spirit are teaching you and telling you. And so that was I was able to get through it, and I had already decided I was not going to take a shot that would possibly kill me. So, because I never take the flu shot, and I never get the flu.
Sure. We don't either.
It was like, and so that was for me and my mindset. And I didn't feel the need to go out and wear a mask. I always carried it with me. And then I wasn't going to wear a mask in the car,
right,
outside, whenever I went to a store.
Got 1 minute. So,
yeah, but that was it.
Very good. I agree with you, Deborah, big time. Gina, last word?
My last word is the conspiracy theorists are being proven right.
Yeah. Amen.
Since 2017,
I'm with you.
I'm with your wife.
Yeah.
and that depends upon.
And I'm with Donna too.
that depends upon what news outlet you watch.
100%. It really does. It really does. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I love doing this more than anything else. I love everybody's opinion. I learn from this so much. But we got to go. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks, Deborah. And we'll see you next time. God bless everybody.
If you missed today's show or want to watch it again, or want to tell someone where they can watch this episode, go to lambnetwork.tv, where you will find this show and all the other live Lamb show archives in the on-demand section of the website. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to tell someone about the Messianic Lamb Network. We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, and yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussions, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the lambnetwork.tv website. I'm Tammy Johnson, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.